She was just a poor maid. He was a wealthy man about to marry the city's most powerful bride. But on the wedding day, a shocking secret walked through the doors and changed everything. Welcome to Folktales Hub. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and share with friends. My brothers and sisters, let me tell you a story. A story that shook an entire city in Ghana. It is not just a tale of love, but a tale of betrayal, greed, secrets, and the strength of a woman who refused to be silenced. It all began on a bright Monday morning in Accra. The sun had risen boldly, shining over the tall buildings, the busy streets, and the endless sound of trotro drivers shouting for passengers. Life was rushing as usual. But for one man, this day was not just any other day. For Kwame Mensah, it was the most important morning of his entire life. Kwame was not an ordinary man. At just 32, he had already built a business empire that spread across Ghana and beyond. Hotels, real estate, transport companies. He had his hands in everything. Some people called him lucky. Others called him brilliant. But everyone agreed on one thing. Kwame was powerful. This Monday morning, Kwame was on his way to sign the biggest deal of his career. Billions of cedis were on the line. One signature today would secure investments that would keep his family name strong for generations. His father, Mr. Mensah, had reminded him again and again, "Kwame, this meeting will decide everything. Don't let anything distract you." Kwame nodded, dressed in a crisp white shirt and a well-pressed navy blue suit. His driver opened the car door, and he slid into the back seat of his black Range Rover. Inside his jacket, hidden carefully, were the confidential documents for the deal. The car sped through the streets, but fate had other plans. Just before they joined the highway, something unexpected happened. A massive truck roared past, splashing muddy water all over him. In 1 second, his spotless suit was ruined. His shirt clung wet to his chest, stained with filth. The papers were safe, but his appearance, disaster. Kwame's heart pounded. If he showed up like this, those foreign investors would never take him seriously. They would hand the deal to his rivals without a second thought. He looked around, desperate, frustrated, angry. And that was when he saw her. At the corner of the road stood a small wooden kiosk, its paint fading, its roof half rusted. It looked like it had been standing there for years, fighting against sun and rain. And inside the kiosk was a young woman arranging clothes neatly. Her name was Efua. She was not the type of woman people noticed in the busy city. Her clothes were simple, her hair tied back, her hands rough from years of work. But behind her tired eyes was a quiet strength. Kwame rushed toward her, and she looked up in surprise. She had never seen such a rich-looking man standing at her kiosk before. For a moment she thought he was lost. "Please, madam," Kwame said breathlessly. "Can you help me? I have an important meeting. My suit is ruined." Efua blinked, studying the panic on his face. Then she smiled gently. "Don't worry, sir. Give it to me. I can clean it quickly." Her voice was soft, calming. She moved with careful hands, wiping, pressing, and fixing his shirt with speed and skill. Kwame stood there amazed. No one had spoken to him with such kindness in years. People usually wanted his money, his power, his connections. But Efua, she just wanted to help. That Monday morning, on a muddy roadside in Accra, was the moment two worlds collided. A billionaire and a poor kiosk girl. And neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness would change their lives forever. From that day, Kwame kept going back to Efua's kiosk. At first it was for small fixes, his shirts, his suits. But slowly, he found himself drawn to her spirit. She never asked for anything, yet she gave so much. Sometimes she would even deliver his clothes to his mansion herself, walking through the gates with her small nylon bag. Inside Kwame's house were chandeliers, marble floors, and luxury cars parked outside. But when Efua walked in, carrying neatly folded shirts, the mansion felt warmer than it ever had. One evening, after delivering clothes, Efua sat quietly at his dining table. Her eyes looked heavy, like she was carrying a burden too big for her shoulders. Kwame noticed. "Efua, what is troubling you?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "It's my mother, Miss I. She's very sick. The hospital bills. I don't know how to pay them anymore." Her voice cracked. She quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed. But Kwame reached across the table and touched her hand gently. "Don't worry," he said. "From today, those bills are mine to pay." Efua looked at him in shock. No one had ever helped her like that. She wanted to refuse, but the truth was, her mother's life was at stake. That night, Kwame promised to stand by her. And slowly, their bond deepened. Days turned into weeks. Late nights at the hospital turned into conversations in Kwame's car. Sometimes they sat in silence, just watching the city lights. Other times they talked about their dreams, their fears, their hopes. One rainy evening, as drops pattered on the windshield, Kwame turned to her and said, "Efua, I want to know you. Everything. Who you really are." Her lips trembled. "I'll tell you one day," she whispered. Then she leaned forward and kissed him. That kiss opened the door to something neither of them could control. That night they became one. For the first time in years, Kwame felt alive. He thought he had found a woman who cared for him beyond his wealth. And Efua thought she had found a man who would finally stand by her and her sick mother. But they didn't know someone else was watching. Her name was Abina. Abina had grown up knowing that one day, she would marry Kwame. Their fathers had been close friends and business partners. Years ago, they had sealed an agreement. Kwame and Abina would marry to keep the families united. But what Kwame's father never knew was that Abina's family had already lost everything. Their wealth was gone, their businesses crumbled. All they had left was pride, and the hope of clinging to the Mensah family for survival. Abina was beautiful, elegant, and ruthless. She had lived her whole life believing she was destined to be the wife of a billionaire. So when she saw Efua entering Kwame's life, her heart filled with rage. This girl, a kiosk cleaner. Never. Abina spat when she first saw Efua at the mansion. And so the battle began. One afternoon, Abina cornered Efua in the laundry room. Her heels clicked against the tiles as she sneered. "So, you're the laundry girl? Since you're here, you'll wash all the clothes. You'll scrub the floors. Serve me like the maid you are." Efua's hands shook. She swallowed her tears and nodded silently. From that day, Abina mocked her daily. She called her names, belittled her, and made sure she never forgot her place. But Efua kept quiet. She told herself she could endure it for her mother, for Kwame, for the small hope of a better life. Weeks later, Efua noticed something strange. Her body felt weak. She was sick every morning. Her hands trembled as she bought a small pregnancy test with the last coins in her pocket. She hid in her room, heart pounding. The result was positive. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. Fear swallowed her. If Abina found out, she would destroy her. If Kwame's parents knew, they would throw her out. She pressed her hands against her belly. "I must hide this," she told herself. "I must protect my child." But fate, my friends, has a way of revealing secrets. And Abina was already watching her every move. My friends, life can be full of secrets. Some secrets give us peace, while others bring storms that can destroy everything we hold dear. Efua thought her secret would keep her safe. She thought hiding her pregnancy would protect her from Abina's wicked eyes. But she did not know that the walls of a mansion have ears. And soon, her secret would fall into the wrong hands. One morning, Efua was sweeping the compound, her body weak from nausea. She thought no one was watching. But Abina stood quietly at the top of the stairs, her sharp eyes following Efua's every move. That same afternoon, as Efua was cleaning the kitchen, she left a folded piece of paper by the sink. It was the pregnancy test result. She had hidden it, but in her tiredness she forgot. Abina entered the kitchen, ready to throw her usual insults, when her eyes caught the paper. She picked it up carelessly, then froze. Slowly, her lips curled into a cruel smile. "Pregnant," she whispered to herself. "So that's your little secret, Efua." carrying Kwame's child. Oh no, this cannot happen. If he finds out, everything will be ruined. I must act. And I must act now. That evening, Abina put on her sweetest smile and sat beside Kwame in the living room. Kwame, she said softly, don't you think that girl Efua has overstayed her welcome here? She's just a maid. She doesn't belong in this house. Kwame frowned. Abina, you don't understand. Efua is not just a maid. When I was stranded, she helped me when no one else would. She has been by my side, quietly, without asking for anything. I cannot just throw her away. Abina forced a laugh. You speak of her like she is family. But she is nothing but a distraction. We are planning a wedding, Kwame. The biggest wedding in Accra. Should a girl like that be living under the same roof? Kwame rubbed his forehead, tired. Abina, you care too much about appearances. What about love? What about kindness? But Abina only smiled, hiding her rage. She already knew the truth. She knew Efua was pregnant. And in her heart, she vowed to destroy her before Kwame ever found out. The wedding preparations continued. The grandest hall in the city was being decorated with chandeliers, golden drapes, and fresh flowers imported from abroad. Abina tried on expensive gowns, rejecting each one until she found the most costly dress with diamond trimmings. I want the whole city to know who I am, she declared. This will not just be a wedding. It will be a festival. Her parents clapped proudly, while Kwame grew more and more distant. His heart was not in the celebrations. At night, he often found himself thinking of Efua, the way she smiled through her pain, the way she cared for him without expecting anything in return. But while Kwame battled with his feelings, Efua was fighting her own storm. Every morning she woke up weak, her body heavy with the new life growing inside her. She worked quietly in the mansion, cleaning, cooking, folding clothes, all while hiding her growing belly under loose dresses. At night, she cried silently into her pillow. If they find out, she whispered to herself, they will destroy me. They will take away my child. But she underestimated how far Abina was willing to go. One dark night, while the mansion was silent, Abina tiptoed into the kitchen. In her hand, she carried a small bottle filled with a strange, dark liquid. Her eyes darted left and right before she opened the fridge. She carefully poured a few drops into Efua's food, stirred it gently, then placed it back as if nothing had happened. With a wicked smile, she whispered, "Let's see how strong you really are, Efua." The next morning, Efua woke up feeling worse than usual. She pushed herself to sweep the compound and wash clothes, but her body grew weaker with each step. By afternoon, her stomach began to churn violently. Beads of sweat covered her forehead. "What is happening to me?" she whispered, clutching her belly. "Is this morning sickness? Or something else?" Her legs buckled, and she collapsed on the floor. At that moment, Kwame was at his office downtown, buried in meetings, when his driver burst in, breathless. "Sir, it's Efua. She has collapsed at home." Kwame's heart dropped. Without a second thought, he grabbed his keys, rushed to his car, and sped through the traffic like a madman. His tires screeched as he reached the mansion, where Efua lay barely conscious. "Efua! Stay with me!" Kwame shouted, lifting her into his arms. He raced her to the hospital, his chest pounding with fear. Abina watched from the balcony, her eyes narrowing. For the first time she saw the truth. Kwame didn't just care for Efua. He loved her. But instead of giving up, Abina's resolve grew darker. "If he loves her this much," she thought bitterly, "then I will destroy her completely." At the hospital, Kwame sat in the corridor, his head buried in his hands, his eyes red from crying. He hadn't eaten. He hadn't slept. All he wanted was for Efua and the child, though he did not know of it yet, to survive. Beside him, Abina placed a hand on his shoulder, pretending to care. "Kwame, you must be strong," she whispered. "Efua would want you to go on. You still have me." Kwame didn't answer. He barely even looked at her. His heart was too heavy. Hours later the doctor came out, his face grim. "Mr. Mensah," he said slowly, "I'm sorry. Efua didn't make it." The word struck Kwame like a blade. He staggered, clutching his chest. "No, no, that's not true. She was fine yesterday. Please let me see her. Just once." The doctor shook his head. "Her body has already been sent to her family." Kwame broke down, weeping openly. Abina knelt beside him, wrapping her arms around him, pretending to cry too. "It's okay, Kwame. You still have me. We will get through this together." But inside, her heart was cold as ice. She had won. Or so she thought. Because the truth was very different. When Abina slipped the doctor a heavy envelope filled with cash, she gave him one order. "Make sure Efua never comes out of this hospital alive." The doctor nodded, but later that night, as he stood by Efua's bed, syringe in hand, he hesitated. He looked at her pale face, her weak body, and something inside him broke. "I can't do this," he whispered. "They paid me to end your life, Efua. But I see goodness in you. If you value your life, you must disappear. Leave Accra. Don't return to Kwame. If Abina finds out you're alive, she will come again." Efua's eyes widened in horror. She was too weak to argue, but her spirit burned. The doctor quickly pulled out her drip, helped her sit up, and whispered urgently, "Run, Efua. Run now." And so, while Kwame mourned, while Abina celebrated silently, Efua slipped out into the night, clutching her swollen belly, tears streaming down her face. To the world she was dead. But in truth, her story was only just beginning. She stumbled down a lonely road under the moonlight, her heart heavy with pain. Her mother, Mame Esi, was far away, still sick and waiting for her. Kwame, the man she loved, believed she was gone. And Abina, dangerous and desperate, would not stop until she was truly destroyed. Just when Efua thought the night could not grow darker, headlights cut across the road. A sleek car slowed to a halt before her. A tall stranger stepped out, his figure casting a shadow under the moonlight. Efua froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Was this man a helper sent by God? Or another trap prepared by Abina? Her fate, and the fate of her unborn child, now hung in the balance. Life can sometimes bury the truth under lies, but no matter how deep, the truth always rises. Efua thought her life had ended the moment she left that hospital. But destiny had not finished with her yet. The stranger who stepped out of the car that night was not an enemy. He was Kofi, a young pastor traveling back to his church after a late-night service. He looked at Efua, tired, barefoot, her face pale, and his heart softened. "Sister, are you all right?" he asked gently. Efua wanted to trust him, but her voice trembled. "Please help me. I have nowhere to go." Kofi nodded without hesitation. "Get in. You are safe with me." And so, he took her to a small mission house on the outskirts of Kumasi. There she found shelter, food, and kindness. The church women cared for her as if she was their sister. Slowly, her strength returned. Weeks later, Efua gave birth to a baby boy, a tiny child with eyes that reminded her of Kwame. She named him Kojo, after her late father. Holding her baby, Efua wept, not just from sorrow but also from gratitude. Though she had lost everything, she had been given a new reason to live. Meanwhile, in Accra, life continued. The city buzzed with excitement as the date of Kwame and Abina's grand wedding drew closer. Billboards displayed their faces, newspapers wrote about their upcoming marriage, and society women whispered about the expensive guest list. But inside Kwame's heart, there was no joy. He tried to smile, he tried to move on, but Efua's memory haunted him. Sometimes at night, he dreamed of her voice calling his name. Sometimes he woke up believing she was still alive. "Why can't I forget her?" he whispered to himself. Abina noticed his distance. She grew restless. "Why does he still mourn her?" she thought bitterly. "Why can't he love me the way I want?" Her jealousy festered, twisting into paranoia. She began lashing out at the staff, yelling at wedding planners, and screaming when things were not perfect. But no matter how many diamonds she bought, no matter how loud the drums of celebration were, she could not silence the ghost of Efua. Fate, however, had a surprise waiting. One Sunday morning, Pastor Kofi was invited to preach at a large church in Accra. Efua, now stronger, attended the service quietly with her baby. She kept her head low, afraid that someone from the city might recognize her. But God has a way of unveiling hidden things. As the choir sang and the congregation clapped, a woman behind Efua leaned forward and whispered, "Your child is beautiful. He looks so much like Mr. Kwame Mensah. Are you related to him?" Efua froze. She wanted to deny it, but the woman's words shook her. If even strangers could see the resemblance, then the truth could not be hidden forever. Later that same week, Efua visited the market to buy food. As she bargained with a tomato seller, a man passing by stopped suddenly. His eyes widened. He rubbed them as if doubting what he saw. "Efua," he whispered. She turned, and her heart nearly stopped. It was Kwame's childhood friend, Ya. "Efua, but you are dead. We buried you," Ya cried, drawing attention. Panicked, Efua grabbed her basket and ran through the crowded stalls, clutching her baby. But Ya chased after her, shouting her name. The whole market turned to look. In that moment the truth began to break free. Ya wasted no time. That evening, he stormed into Kwame's house, breathless. "Kwame, listen to me. Efua is alive. I saw her with my own eyes today in the market. She has a child." Kwame dropped the glass in his hand, his eyes wide. "What did you say?" "She's alive," Ya repeated firmly. "She didn't die in that hospital. Someone lied to you." Kwame's chest heaved. His heart raced. Without a word, he grabbed his car keys and ran out. Abina, who had overheard, froze in shock. Rage and fear boiled inside her. No, this can't be happening," she whispered. "If Kwame finds her, everything I planned will collapse. I must stop him." Kwame searched tirelessly for days. He went from church to church, market to market, until at last he found her. Efua stood outside a small chapel, rocking her baby gently in her arms. Their eyes met. For a moment time stopped. "Efua!" Kwame's voice cracked as he stepped closer, tears rolling down his cheeks. "You're alive. They told me you were gone. Why didn't you come to me?" Efua shook her head, her own eyes filled with tears. "Kwame, I wanted to. But Abina would have destroyed me. Even the doctor warned me. I had no choice. I had to protect our child." She moved her shawl, revealing baby Kojo's tiny face. Kwame gasped, his knees buckling. "He's mine." "Yes," Efua whispered. Kwame cried openly, holding both of them in his arms. For the first time in months he felt whole again. But their reunion would not stay hidden for long. News spread like wildfire. On the morning of the wedding, guests gathered in their glittering gowns and suits. Drummers played, cameras flashed, and Abina, dressed in her diamond gown, smiled like a queen. But just as the priest lifted his hand to begin the vows, a loud voice called out from the back of the hall, "Stop this wedding!" The crowd turned. Gasps filled the room. There stood Efua, holding her baby, with Kwame by her side. Whispers rushed through the hall like wildfire. "Efua! But she's dead." "No, she's alive. And the child? He looks just like Kwame." Abina's face turned pale, then red with fury. She screamed, "This is a lie. She's nothing but a thief trying to ruin us." But Kwame raised his hand, silencing the crowd. His voice rang with strength. "Everyone listen. This is Efua, the woman I love, the one who stood by me when I had nothing. And this child is mine. Today I will not marry Abina. Today I choose the truth. Choose love. I choose my family." The hall erupted into chaos. Abina shrieked, throwing her bouquet across the room, clawing at her veil. "You will regret this, Kwame. You will regret ever crossing me." But no one listened to her anymore. Her power was broken, her lies exposed. She stormed out of the hall, her footsteps echoing like thunder. As for Kwame and Efua, they stood together, holding baby Kojo, tears of relief streaming down their faces. The crowd, moved by their story, clapped and cheered. Some wiped their eyes. Even the priest smiled and said, "It seems God has written a different story here today." And so, under the light of truth, Kwame and Efua's love triumphed over lies, wealth and jealousy. Their journey was not easy. They lost much, they suffered deeply. But in the end, they gained something greater than riches. They gained a love built on sacrifice, trust, and destiny. My friends, this story reminds us of one thing. Love is patient, love is kind, and no matter how dark the night becomes, love always finds a way to shine through.